Now that you've had a chance to build an initial sense of what communication takes place in business today, and what communication tasks might be expected of you as a future business professional, it is time to familiarize you with your first major assignment, the job packet. Let's make our way over to the Major Assignments tab to the left of your screen when you're in our course. If you open it up and then click on the Job Packet Assignment Prompt file, you can begin to check out what you will be busy doing for the next few weeks. The first thing that I'd like to point out about your job packet is that it includes multiple documents, like many of your major assignments this semester. In this case, you will draft, revise, edit, and proofread a traditional resume and application letter, perhaps the most common and primary application documents you will find yourself composing every time you return to the job market. You will be locating and targeting an actual position to apply for most of you, an internship, and creating your resume and application letter documents both for whatever specific rhetorical situations are inherent in the posting you choose. Remember, the rhetorical situation, which, as you read about earlier, includes the audience, context, and purpose of any communicative act. Those two documents, your application letter and resume, will be prefaced by a cover memo which you will write for your instructor to provide all of the information she or he might need to assess your documents and how well they respond to the rhetorical situation and satisfy the situational demands. You will also discuss what rhetorical approaches, strategies, and techniques you employ, and exactly how and why you do so to respond to the rhetorical situation. Because responding to the rhetorical situation is so very central to any communication task in business, and any communication act for that matter, and can change or alter almost any aspect or element of communication, your instructor will need to know exactly what rhetorical situation you are communicating within in order to gauge how effectively you are responding to the situational demands through your communicative act. Just as you will need to examine and raise your awareness of any rhetorical situation you find yourself communicating in from this point forward as much as possible, your instructor will need to know the what, why, where, and how behind your rhetorical choices. The cover memo is the place you can provide that information. If we scroll down the page, we can begin to review the general requirements of the packet. The first bullet point echoes what I mentioned earlier about finding and writing to a real position posting. Because this is a sophomore level course, most of you will most likely be just entering the core courses in your major and will not be ready to apply for the same position you will want to when you are ready to graduate or after you gain experience in that first job in your profession. For this assignment, you will need to apply for a position in your major that you are qualified for now. And if you're just entering courses in your major, you will likely be looking for internship positions. If you are further along or already have experience in your major, however, you will want to apply for an entry-level position in your major or something calling for more experience if you have it. Take a look at the job posting or search sites listed in your textbook to find job or internship postings in your major, but also look into Penn State's Career Services. You can access their homepage from our campus homepage directory, and with minimal effort, you will be able to utilize their site to access several excellent job and internship services and search engines available to you as a Penn State student. Before we go too far, you will see that the job packet is worth 100 points or 10% of your overall course grade. Next, you will see the assignment prompt goes into more detail about the specific requirements for each document of the packet. For example, the cover memo requires you to provide very specific information to your instructor, as I explained earlier. The job or internship posting URL, qualifications, description of potential employer, and detail about how you address the rhetorical situation, what you use to do so, and why. Finally, the cover memo is another chance to practice using headings, bullets, etc. to help gain experience for when you need to use those same devices and constructions for much more complex and formal documents. Next, we will go into more detail about the letter of application through our reading and workshops. You can see that the requirements are fairly conventional to reflect realistic letters you will be expected to produce when you are searching for a job. For the letter, you will need to utilize one of the traditional letter formats and will follow a somewhat standard organizational four-paragraph approach because of the stage you are at in your career. As you will see, one of the most challenging tasks with composing a successful letter is finding a balance between a tone of confidence and one of arrogance. A good approach is to provide solid, explicit detail and information, and to avoid any terms that qualify the skills, experiences, abilities, and qualifications you present. Watch those adjectives and adverbs. It is also important to point out how vitally significant editing and proofreading is to these documents. The last document in the job packet is actually the first one you will be drafting and workshopping, the traditional resume. Your reading for this lesson reviewed much about resumes and hopefully prepared you to begin putting the one together that you will be workshopping in the next lesson. If you have already constructed a resume, you will have a good base of information to build upon, but please approach this assignment from a fresh perspective to produce the best resume you can this semester. As you have read, there are multiple approaches you can utilize to build your resume, so feel free to explore a little when drafting this assignment to find what you think best represents you and fits the rhetorical situation you are writing for. With that said, there is one thing that we asked you not to do when building your resumes in this course. We do not use any Word resume templates. We want you to build your own entire design. We also do not want your design and rhetorical options and abilities to become limited by a template, nor do we want a potential employer to recognize your resume as made from a template and consider you as less industrious or original, or worse, they might view your resume as a sign that you are less than tech savvy or even lazy. Like the application letter, be sure to meticulously edit your resume and use all of the devices and layout options you can to your benefit. Finally, the grading criteria categories are listed at the end of the assignment prompt. These categories will remain fairly consistent throughout the semester, and when we workshop the resume and letter, you will be given questions to ask in each category to help you focus in on what specific things you should consider and look for in each one.